when Krishna actually spoke Gita to Arjuna, and it has been almost 5,150 years back it has happened. And it happened in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and it is still there. If you go to Delhi, then you can find a place, a state known as Haryana, and in that state Haryana you would find a place known as Kurukshetra. So still that place is existing, still that battlefield is existing where Krishna uh, performed. There was a fight between Kauravas and Pandavas. So this Bhagavad Gita is a very important is a very important outcome of the battlefield of Kurukshetra as such for all of us to study. So, but we have been studying, we have been understanding different chapters, different verses, different concepts of Bhagavad Gita. But let us today try to understand where this book stands, where this Bhagavad Gita stands in the picture of entire universal scale, universal level. So let us understand today some of the important understanding about Bhagavad Gita, because if we know about the book what we are studying, then it really helps us developing conviction, developing inspiration that why I should study this book, why I should read this book, what is going to be the benefit after reading this book. So there is a description given by Adi Shankaracharya, who is the one of the greatest spiritualist appeared in India, and he is the one who describes about the glories of Bhagavad Gita in Padma Puran. So there is a separate chapter which it is been mentioned about the glorification of Bhagavad Gita by Shankaracharya, and it is known as Gita Mahatmya, specifically about Bhagavad Gita. So let us try to go through some of these important verses of Gita Mahatmya, and let us try to understand where this book stands, why we should read these books, what are the importance of this book, what we are studying, Bhagavad Gita. So let us chant the second shloka. I'll be going through shloka by shloka, and we'll be going through understanding what we can derive from those shlokas in our contemporary language. So second verse says, Gita dhyana shilasya pranayama parayasya cha neva shantihi papani purva janma kratani cha. So you can read from the screen also, text too I am reading. So translation goes like that. If one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness. So it is said Gita dhyaya, Gita dhyayana, adhyayana. We say adhyana. Adhyana means studying something. So it is said Gita adhyana, shilasya pranayama parayasya cha neva shantihi papani purva janma kratani cha. So if one read Gita very sincerely with all seriousness, then what happens? Then by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of his past misdeeds will not act upon him. So in this world, we have been suffering by different kaleshas, different type of misery, different kind of sufferings in this world. And we understand that it is because of the past sinful reaction we have performed, and it is the seeds of that past sinful reaction which is grown up, and those fruits are coming to me now in the form of happiness or pleasure. So it is said here that if you seriously chant and seriously study, sincerely study this Bhagavad Gita, then the past sinful reaction will not touch you. You will become immune of all those sinful reactions. Then how does this happen? That is described in the third verse. So let us go to the third verse, how this phenomena works. It says, Maline mochanam pumsam jalasnanam dine dine sakrit gitamrita snanam samsara malanashanam. It says, Maline mochanam pumsam jale snanam dine dine. We have this phenomena, we have this activity every day we perform, most of us, that every day we take bath. So why do we take bath? We take bath so that whatever dirt gets accumulated in our body get washed away by the water and soap. So, but what happens if we don't take bath for, let's say, 1 week or 2 week or 3 week or 1 month? In our college, we used to have that competition. Oh, who have not taken bath for maximum number of days. I don't think it is a very good competition to have, but still we used to have that in our colleges. So, but if what happens is if we keep accumulating dust, then we start sinking. So, but as soon as we take bath, we bathe ourselves with water and soap. Immediately, all those dirt goes away. Similarly, if you see, we do have our mind also. So, if you understand, we have mind, and our mind also accumulates a lot of dirt in the form of greediness, in the form of a lot of negative thoughts, in the form of a lot of absorption of lot of negative vibes from different people. And how do we take bath then? We don't take bath of the mind, and we perform a lot of sinful activities also day in and day out. Invariably, we just, because we are living in this world, we have to perform some kind of actions. So what happens that our mind becomes dirty with these dirty sins we perform and these negativity we accumulate. And it is said, if you take bath in the Ganges, then you get rid of the sins. It is said you get rid of the sins what you have performed by taking bath in the Mother Ganges. Why this special prerogative is given to Mother Ganges? Because if you understand the original, how does Ganges originally come to this universe? There is a beautiful pastimes given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein Vaman Dev pierces the layer of this universe, and Vaitarni river comes to this universe by washing the feet of Lord Vaman Dev, who is incarnation of Vishnu. So Ganges, Mother Ganges have that purifying power of our purification of our mind and sins, because the Mother Ganges is touching the lotus feet of Krishna, or touching the lotus feet of Lord Vamandev. But similarly, if you see, if we have to get rid of the dirty things which get stuck to our soul, get stuck to our consciousness has become dirty. So it is said the Bhagavad Gita is coming from the lotus mouth of Krishna. Mother Ganges is touching the lotus feet of Krishna, but Bhagavad Gita is coming from the lotus mouth of Krishna. So you can imagine how much power, how much far more potency the words of Bhagavad Gita, the words of Krishna would have in our consciousness to eliminate all the dirty thing which you have been accumulating over millions of lifetimes. So there is a beautiful simile is given that how Gita, if Gita is taking away all our sins, taking away all our dirty thing, does Gita become dirty? So I would give you an example. So you have sun, very strong sunshine, and you have two places. In one place, very dirty thing, urine is spread out, is been accumulated, and in one place, water is been accumulated. So what do you think? Sun will not clean the place which is full of urine, or sun will only evaporate water, clean water? No, sun will evaporate both of them. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita, the power of Bhagavad Gita is that much that even if we are dirty, full of dirty thing in our heart, we will get elevated. Even though we may be pure in our heart, still will get elevated. In both the cases, we'll get purified. Like the sun purifies both the situations. So where do you see that evaporated dirty water? It's nowhere. It just gets spread out. No, we don't see that dirty thing anymore. We just see the clean things. Similarly, we don't even know where that dirty thing has gone from our heart. It just gets evaporated. You would understand that before start reading Bhagavad Gita, before start chanting or practicing the spiritual life, I had a lot of dirty things in my heart, but it's not there anymore. But I don't even see where is that dirty thing. Similarly, we understand one more point. What we understand is, as soon as the dirty thing get evaporated, sun is still pure. We don't see sun gets touched by the dirty thing which it evaporates. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita will remain pure even though Gita cleanses the heart of millions and millions of people. Bhagavad Gita remained untouched by all our dirt, which generally we don't see. If some dirty thing is fallen on the ground, we clean it with the cloth. That cloth will become dirty if the floor is clean. But somewhere dirt has gone. But in this case of Bhagavad Gita does not become dirty by cleaning all our sinful reactions. So that is how we understand that. So sometimes people says, "Oh, I'm not qualified to read Bhagavad Gita. I'm not qualified to keep Bhagavad Gita in my house. I am so dirty." So, but by reading Bhagavad Gita itself, you will become qualified to keep Bhagavad Gita itself, at your house and read further in a further more detailed. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm not able to understand what is there in Bhagavad Gita, so I don't want to read it." No, you start reading it. By this, you will become purified, and once you become purified, then you will start understanding also. So that is what we can understand from this third verse, that qualification to read Bhagavad Gita comes from reading Gita itself. So let us go to the fourth verse. What fourth verse says of this Gita Mahatmya? So it says, Gita sugita kartavya kim anne shastra vistarehi ya swayam padmanabhasya mukha padmat vinhishrita. You see, that's Vedic literatures versus Bhagavad Gita. So there's a comparison is given. Let me just read the translation first. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one need not read any Vedic literatures. One need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. In the present age, people are so absorbed in mundane activities that it is not possible for them to read all the Vedic literatures. But it is not that this is not necessary. This one book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice because it is the essence of all Vedic literatures, and especially because it is spoken by Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like we understood in the last discussion that the entire Vedas comes from the breathing of Mahavishnu. So that's how we see that Vedas are very purifying. We should follow the Vedas. And it is said that, entire Vedas are compared to the big forest. Because a dense forest, thick forest. Because there are so many instructions in the Vedas, so many verses, so many instances, so many stories that it just seems like a big thick jungle, big thick forest. But the essence of all the forest is the flower which grows in that. Similarly, it is said the Upanishads are like those flowers which comes out of the forest. And because Upanishads are very important, because it brings you near to the spiritual life, core spiritual stuff. So we have 108 Upanishads known as Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Isha Upanishad, like that 108 Upanishads are mentioned. But it is said if you take all the garlands and you take all the flowers and you make a big garland out of it, so that garland becomes Gita Upanishad, that garland becomes Bhagavad Gita. So the essence of all the Vedic literatures is given in the Bhagavad Gita. If you have the garland, you have the essence of all the entire forest. Similarly, if you have the Bhagavad Gita with you, it is the essence of all the Vedic literatures. And this entire Vedas comes from the breathing of Mahavishnu, breathing. But this Bhagavad Gita comes from lotus lips of Lord Shri Krishna. Again, you see how much purifying potency it would have on our consciousness if we go through this understanding. So we can just understand one small example here. Let's say, for instance, you are undergoing some course. You have taken up some course of some particular subject matter, and that professor tells you that you have to go through these 10 different books for you to study. And now you have only one day to pass the exams. You have not studied whole of your semester. And that professor comes and he says you study 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He gives you a bunch of 50 questions. You read these 50 questions, you are going to pass the examination. So which one you would prefer? To go through all the 10 books because you have very less time and you cannot do that, or to just go through these 50 questions which professor has given it to you and you are going to pass the exams? Similarly, Lord Shri Krishna has only given all the Vedas, has only given all the Vedic literatures for us to pass these exams of material life, for us to cross over this, cross over this ocean of material world. But because we don't have that much of time, we are living in the age of Kali Yuga. We are just span of 100 years, hardly 100 years we live, and out of that, 80 years is average, 670, 80 years is a lifespan. Out of that, we just waste away 30, 40 years in our material thing itself. So hardly we have some 10, 20, 50, 30 years for to understand to understand our spiritual life. In that, if we have to go through all the Vedas, then we are going to get lost. Because of that reason, Krishna personally came and he is telling these 700 slokas you understand, you apply in your life, you're going to pass the examination. So we don't have to go through all the Vedic literatures, we can just be passing this exam with a good grades because we are directly following the professor, we are directly following the author of all those books, recommender of all those books. So that is what we can understand. That if we just simply understand Bhagavad Gita, then we need not go through any other Vedic literatures. We need not confuse our mind with so many instructions which are given in the Vedas, in the Vedic literatures. So similar essence is given in the 6th verse also. So let us go through the 6th verse. It says, Sarvopanishado gavo dogda gopala nandanaha partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dugdam gitamritam mahat. A beautiful example analogy is given in this verse. So it is said, Sarvo Upanishado Gavo. You can compare all the Upanishad to a cow. All the Upanishad are like cow. Then we have cow, all the Upanishad. Then who is a milkman? Because for cow, milkman has to be there to take care of the milk. The Dogda means milkman, Gopal Nandanaha. Gopal Nandanaha, who is a Gopal, who is a Krishna, he is a milkman. And milkman is milking the cows. And milkman will not milk the cows if there is no milk in the Upanishad, in the cows. So how the milk get induced in the cow? When calf comes. When calf comes, the cow becomes full of love for the calf, automatically milk start flowing. Similarly, in this example, calf is compared to the Arjuna. Because it was Arjuna who induced Krishna to speak, who induced Arjuna to churn out all the Vedic literatures. So it was the presence of Arjuna which made Krishna to speak this beautiful description of all those 700 verses. Then who is the Bhokta? Who is the enjoyer of that milk? It is said, Sudhir Bhokta. Sudhir Bhokta means the devotees of Krishna who have the great fortune, they get benefited by this milk of Bhagavad Gita. Dugdam Gita Amritam Maha. This Dugdam means this milk is Gita Amritam, is a nectar of this Bhagavad Gita Mahat. And we as a devotee, if we become fortunate enough to come in touch with Bhagavad Gita and to seriously understand, seriously take up this task of applying these principles in our day-to-day life, then we get benefited by this Gita Amritam Mahat. So let us move to the final verse. It's another essence of entire description of what we are having. So it says, Ekam Shastram Devaki Putram Geetam Eko Deva Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Yani Karmani Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. So nowadays what's happening is we are in a world where the Hindu Dharma is said to be polytheistic. We have so many millions and trillions of demigods, It is said 33 crore Devi Devta. 330 millions 330 millions demigods are existing, and population of India is 150 crore, 1500 millions. So each 3% can have his own god. So now so many times there's a debate which god we should worship. I want one god to be worshipped. So, and there are so many duties which are recommended in the Vedic literatures. You should do this, you should do that. So many kind of description is given about the duty. Then there are so many scriptures which are given in the Vedic literatures, which are as a part of the Vedas. So what we should do? There are so many mantras which are recommended in all the scriptures. So what? So many mantras. Which mantra we should chant? There are so many scriptures. Which scriptures we should follow? There are so many gods whom we should worship. There are so many duties. Which one I should perform? This verse gives the conclusion. This verse gives the answer. And even in scientific world also they are searching for theory of everything. Theory of one theory. There should be one theory which should be able to explain everything. Unification theory or theory of everything. This verse explains the real oneness. This verse explains this theory of one, unity in diversity. So it says ekam shastram means only one. Shastra means Vedic literatures. And what is that? Devaki putra Gitam. The Gita which was spoken by the Devaki putra, who is Krishna, is the only shastra. Ekam shastram. Then it says eko devo devaki putra eva. You want to have one God? Everybody wants to have one God. Yes, let us worship only one God. And who is that one God? Devaki putra eva. Devaki putra means again referred to the son of Devaki, Vasudev, Lord Shri Krishna. Eko mantras tasya namani yani. No, let us chant only one mantra. Let us have only one mantra for everything. And what is that? Tasya namani yani. His holy names. What we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Only one mantra you have, sufficient. Karmani api ekam tasya devasya seva. Karmani api ekam. Let us have only one duty also. And what is that? Tasya devasya seva. The worship, the seva, the service to the Supreme Lord, Devaki Putra, is the only worship which we have to have, and we can just be satisfied only performing this one duty of performing devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So that is how we can understand that if we follow this Bhagavad Gita's instruction, if we try to implement in our life, if we just simply even read it, if somehow or other somebody is even comes in touch with Gita and just simply even touch Bhagavad Gita, simply by even touching Bhagavad Gita, a person gets purified. It is having that much of potencies because it is coming directly from the mouth of Lord Shri Krishna. And sometimes people ask why it is known as Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So Gita, if you see, the word Gita comes from the root known as Geet, and Geet means song. It is said, and it is a song of whom? It is a song of Bhagavat, it's song of God. So it is a song of God because in spiritual life we are so jubilant that whatever we speak, it comes out as if we are singing. We speak so pleasantly about spiritual life in spiritual world. So that is what he said. Whatever comes out from the lotus mouth of Sri Krishna, it comes out as a great, wonderful, soothing song. And if we take it in our heart, as sometimes we feel so disturbed, we feel so dejected, just by hearing some kind of music, just by hearing some kind of songs, we become pacified. Similarly, our soul is hankering for is been frustrated in this world. So if you want to soothe the wound of your heart, if you want to really soothe the pain which is already always been there in our lives, so it can be soothed only by this beautiful, most pleasant songs coming from the Lord Shri Krishna. So that's what we understand, that that's how we should be very firmly fixed up, and we should understand, we should make this conviction in our life that I should be able to study deeply this entire Bhagavad Gita, if not anything else. At least this Gita I should understand, and all those 700 formulas which are mentioned will be able to solve any problem which you face in your life. Sometimes we have these trigonometries, some kind of very complex problems in different mathematics when we were studying. So we would have studied some formulas, and those problems will be solved by all those different formulas. So all those problem will be solved by all those different formulas. Similarly, if we just understand these 700 formulas, then what will happen is we'll be able to solve any problem of our life. Whatever complex problem, whatever challenges we may face, if we know the basics, if we know these basics formulas, then we can cross over, we can solve any issues, whatever we'll be facing in our life. So with this conclusion, we'll conclude here. If anybody have any doubt, any questions, so we can discuss about it. So we'll conclude here and we'll be doing our chanting part.